Mr. McClure, I think you should be able to talk now.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, very good. Mr. Roten, it's yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Walker. We'll go ahead and the board has voted to go back into open session. So we are in open session for the Ashe County Board of Education for our meeting for January 3rd, 2022. If you will, under open session, we'll start first with the Pledge of Allegiance. If y'all will, we'll stand and recite the pledge together. There's a flag behind me, and I believe Dr. Cox has one as well, so that's good. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And just so everybody knows, in open session, we have all 5 members present of the Board of Education on with us. And now you can see 4 of the 5. Mr. McClure is on with us by telephone. Thank you for that, Mr. McClure.
Yes, thank you. Sorry I couldn't log on virtually.
It's always good to have a plan B. So this works just as well. Before we get into comments from the superintendent, would like to add an item to the agenda. It'd be, I was looking here, probably best to add it under number 2, under comments from the superintendent. We'll kind of do a letter B under there, and that'll be a letter to the board. And we'll discuss that here in just a little bit. So any other additions anybody needs to make? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of the amended agenda, you will raise your hand. Mr. McClure, if you'll say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll go under comments from the superintendent. So Dr. Cox, I'll turn it over to you for some upcoming dates.
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome to 2022 with a grand snowstorm today. And we safely got teachers to the teacher workday today. So tomorrow is also a teacher workday. And then we will welcome back students on Wednesday, we hope. And so I'm hoping Mother Nature cooperates with us over the next few days and get some of the snow and ice off the roads. But we are looking forward for the first day of the second semester being this Wednesday for our students. So we also have upcoming dates. The architect interviews are actually, and that's a typo, it's tomorrow, January 4th. And it's a committee, including the full board, that will be participating in those architect interviews. And so the notices actually had the correct date on them, but tomorrow, January 4th, are those interviews all day long. We did push the time back an hour to give people a chance to safely travel into town and to get there both on our committee with the full Board of Education, as well as the people that we're interviewing. So we look forward to that tomorrow. We have also scheduled a parent advisory council meeting. This is our second one, and it is supposed to be tomorrow, but we are in the process of changing that to be virtual due to inclement weather conditions, but we'll be sending that notice out this evening based on that weather. And this particular council met last month. They're meeting monthly for several months in order to work on a strategic plan goal of engagement that by June of 2022, Ashe County Schools will develop a parent and community involvement plan that increases partnerships between schools, parents, and the community. And so we have parents from each school, along with a principal from each school, and a couple of directors who are helping to guide that process to develop it. So it's essentially developed by parents and in partnership with our schools. So we look forward to what that looks like, and that plan, of course, we'll bring that to the full board when they complete it in May. The State Board of Education is meeting on January 6th, and Blue Ridge Elementary School is actually being honored by the State Board of Education. And so we'll be traveling there. They are, of course, a blue ribbon school, one of 8 in the state of North Carolina, which is a huge honor. And I know that our families have heard this before, but I can't say it enough, how proud I am of the teachers and staff. It was awarded this year, but this is a long time process in coming that is not, our teachers and staff are really, really integral in that process, but as are our families and students who attend Blue Ridge Elementary. So congratulations again, and we will travel to the state board meeting on Thursday to celebrate them. Once again, I think they need to be celebrated more and more, and I'm glad we get to do this one more time. Our county spelling bee is upcoming on January 13th at 6:00 p.m. In the Ashe County High School auditorium. We do have an alternate date in case of inclement weather. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but January 20th is that alternate date. But we're looking forward to seeing our spellers in person. That's not something we did last year in person. So this is an in-person competition. And then our Martin Luther King Jr. holiday is January 17th, and there will be no school for students and staff on that day. It's a holiday. And then we have a teacher leadership council. This is something we started last year, but due to COVID, we had one meeting and did not pursue that further. Due to people's comfort levels and meeting, and I think being zoomed out in a lot of ways. So we are meeting in person on January 24th for that Teacher Leadership Council. And this group of teachers consists of our Teachers of the Year from last year and this year, as well as our beginning Teachers of the Year for last year and this year. And essentially they'll serve 2-year terms, but last year's Teachers of the Year will not serve that second term. Each year will be added, so there's some consistency across the schools, and a new teacher from each school will be added each year. So we're excited about that and to hear what our teachers have to offer. They're going to be giving some great feedback on lots of different topics and really talk with their colleagues across the district so that they have valuable input on things that really matter. And on that day, we're excited because we're going to be able to feed them. And I am very hopeful that it will all work out, weather pending, but I think we have students that day that are working with a community business, the Tavern, in order to serve our teachers a dinner. So it's really twofold. Our teachers are going to have a nice meal, and our students are going to be learning from one of the best restaurants in our community and learning from someone who has great experience. And our CTE program hopefully will grow in this model. And I'm really hopeful that through this, other businesses will want to partner with us to provide relevant experiences to students. So anybody who is a business owner who happens to be listening today, if you get a phone call from one of us wanting to that next partnership, or you just want to call me or Earl Pennington and say, hey, I have a great idea for a way kids can have some relevant experiences that'll benefit them, give us a call. We look forward to that conversation and really putting this into action on a regular basis. And then as far as more announcements are concerned, Ashe County Schools is a special place. I think you guys all know that, but so does the state know that. And so we have 2 state finalists in other positions. Charlene Horton has been named a finalist for the North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching, which is better known as NCAT 2022 Prudential North Carolina Beginning Teacher of the Year Award. And this is in honor of her dedication, innovation, and ability to inspire students to achieve. They're honoring teachers from all across the state, but you guys know how many beginning teachers there are in the state of North Carolina. She is one of 27 finalists for this award, and I will be shocked if she does not win. So I will say that out loud. I've been in her classroom multiple times. She is phenomenal, really top notch, and she teaches like a veteran teacher. So proud of her for that. So kudos to Charlene Horton. And then our very own Amy Walker has been named as a Regional Technology Director of the Year, and she's a finalist for the 2022 North Carolina Technology Director of the Year Award. So not just technology, but Amy is so important to us for so many reasons. She's ingrained in the community. She does our Heart of the Husky. Amy was really instrumental in all the behind the scenes work for our back to school event this year. And then she does all the little things that really matter. And, from helping us to run virtual board meetings and pivoting on a dime when there is a inclement weather to things that sometimes we just don't think about. Amy's that person. So, and she's a go-to for a lot of us. So Amy, congratulations. And we are extremely proud of you and thankful that we have you and Charlene on our team. And there are all kinds of things I could say good about the schools. I'm excited about second semester starting, and I think the students will be excited to get back. 2022 is going to be a great year for a lot of things, and those two people are only a small part of the great things that are happening in Ashe County schools. So glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Cox, and congratulations to those folks as well. A lot of happenings going on. So I have the B that is going to fall under this line item for the agenda. And if it's okay with the board, I'll just read the letter that we received for this. This letter was dated December the 23rd, 2021, and it was addressed to me. It says, "Dear Josh, after much contemplation, I have decided to resign my position on the Ashe County Board of Education on January the 28th, 2022. Family circumstances and prior commitments will greatly limit my ability to stay updated, attend Board of Education meetings, and perform my duties to the level I expect from myself. The time on the board has been challenging but rewarding. I wish the best for the board in all their endeavors," and it was signed sincerely, Mr. Keith McClure. So we are having Mr. McClure resign his seat as of January the 28th. Mr. McClure, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Mr. Rudin, I think that the letter says it all. I have thought long and hard about this. I had not planned on running for the Board of Education again because of a lot of commitments that I have and family circumstances, but I just don't think it's fair to the board, to our school system, and after hearing all of the good things that are going on from Dr. Cox and all the different presentations and awards, and realizing that I'm not going to be able to attend those, I just do not feel good about that, and I just think it's best that I resign this position. And I gave enough notice. I gave 30-day notice so that the board can consider moving ahead. As I said, I've enjoyed working with the board, but I just don't feel like it's fair to the board, or the community, or myself to try to continue being on the board and missing so many meetings and as I said before, expressed to the board, I've tried looking at changing those commitments, but it just doesn't work out because of family circumstances and other issues. So something I contemplated, but I really feel like that's the best move for me to do now.
Well, Mr. McClure, I know as I'll speak on behalf of the board, we want to have a recognition of your service to the board. Won't be able to do that this evening here at this meeting, but in a future date, and we'll check with you on your availability, and hopefully we'll be back in person, no snow, and we can have more of a nice reception and appreciation for your grateful service to the Ashe County Board of Education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roden. And Dr. Cox, I wish the best for you and all of Ashe County schools. And I still am vested very much in the schools and will be keeping close contact with them.
I know you will. Thank you, Mr. McClure. We appreciate your leadership, not just on the board, but for the many years of service you've had as an educator and administrator for Ashe County Schools. We know you'll be here and supporting us. You've been doing that for a long, long time. So thank you, but we're truly going to miss you.
Thank you.
Just so everybody will know, the board, in our board policy, there is a policy for filling in the term, unexpired term fulfillment on there. So the board will deliberate on this process to make a decision and look at our options that the board has. That will not take place at this meeting tonight, but just know that the board will be working on this in the future. So I kind of wanted to close with that, if that's okay. So next, anybody have anything else? Ms. Eldrith, Ms. Jones, Dr. Simmons? Okay, all right. Well, we've got next, always exciting news is an audit information. So we have our 2021 audit presentation, and I believe I see Shannon there. Shannon Dennison of Anderson, Smith and Wyke, LLC. So I'll go ahead and kind of turn it over to her to let her talk a little bit about the audit for us.
Thank you. Excited to be with you guys this evening. I know this maybe isn't the most exciting topic to go through, but we enjoy meeting with the staff. Amanda and her team did a phenomenal job working with us. They were all great. Anything we needed, they were more than happy to get us and more than happy to work with us. And that's really one of the big things that we look for and enjoy coming up to Ashe County. Because of the staff that you guys have up there. So I am chairman, board members, Dr. Cox, just wanting to present the 2021 audit to you guys. Would it be easiest if I shared my screen, or do you guys have the audit?
They have a copy of the audit. It is posted in the eAssembly board portal, but it may be, I don't know whether, can she share?
I can share.
Amy?
Yeah, you can share. That would be fine.
There you go.
All right. Are you able to see it now?
We are.
Excellent. So at the beginning of what you guys show online, as well as in the paper copy, there's a stapled copy, so a little bit separate from the audit. This is just a required communication letter. It's a letter that we are required to present from Congress based upon Enron, and basically just expressing to you guys that nothing unusual happened. We had great cooperation, and the staff was very cooperative. So nothing unusual out of those first couple of pages. Looking at the financial statements on, let's see, page 1 of the financial statements. This is our overall audit report on how the audit went, and I'm pleased to report that you guys have an unmodified opinion or clean audit report, meaning we didn't find any major issues with anything or any issues that we encountered in going through the audit. So no, except 4 items, nothing that we're presenting as a problem. The next is management discussion and analysis. This is going to be just a high level highlight of the financial statements. I know it's a little bit small to read. As you all mentioned, it is posted on the board agenda, but this is just a high level summary that management presented. Getting into the audit, the first couple of pages in exhibit 1 and 2 is looking at the financial statements as a whole, as if it were a business. We don't recommend looking at your financials really from these two reports. We're required to put in things like the future liability on pensions that, you guys are not necessarily, it's the state pension plan, and other retirement benefits. The requirement for this report really comes down to towns and counties that are going to be able to take out financing. Since you guys aren't able to take out financing, this isn't going to be the best report for you guys to evaluate your state of health and finances. Exhibit 3 and 4 are going to be the reports that are going to be most impactful to you guys. And the big number that everybody kind of looks for in the audit is going to be your fund balance. So in your general fund, you have a total fund balance of just over 2.7 million. Of that, you have appropriated just over $1 million into this year's expenditures. So have unassigned fund balance of 1.7 million in your general fund. And then just over almost 1.2 million in your capital outlay fund. This is an increase, your change in fund balance, which is going to be your increase in this instance in your general fund. You guys have about $232,000 more fund balance in your general fund than you did in the prior year, and spent about $140,000 more this past year than you had in your capital outlay fund. As we're getting into with the general fund, we are seeing that counties are being able to have a little bit more fund balance in your general fund coming into this year with some of the COVID money that you guys have been able to receive. However, as you know, in 2024, that money does go away. So you guys have done a good job of hopefully being able to save a little bit of that, or a little bit of your fund balance. That way, come 2024, it's not a major cliff that you have salaries and have a hard time and have significant cutting. So that increase in fund balance is going to be helpful to you guys. Looking at exhibit 5, this is going to be a comparison of your original budget, your final budget, and your actual expenditures. Pleased to report you guys didn't have any overages in expenditures from your final budgets. Everything came within budget. Then looking at your child nutrition fund, this one, because it does require, in these financial statements, we are required to put in some of the state pension liability and other post-retirement benefits. On this one, we don't necessarily recommend looking at your net position or fund balance, because that's not a great indicator on how it's operating. What we recommend looking at on your child nutrition fund is going to be your cash balance. What did your cash balance do? Do you have more or less cash balance than the prior year? In this case, your ending balance is $872,000. The prior year you had $734,000. So you do have an increase of around $140,000 this year. So your child nutrition program is running healthy and strong and increasing that balance. So again, more great news to report on your child nutrition fund as well. Looking ahead in the notes. The notes will give you some good descriptions, but I'm going to skip ahead to something that we feel is kind of important to look at and helpful as board members. And that's going to be the retirement rates that are required and kind of over time. So this report is a look back over time of the last 8 years. And as you can see along the bottom here is the percentage of employees payroll that you're required to pay into the state for retirement. So looking back to 2017, you were paying 9.98% of wages into the retirement system. In 2021, you paid 14.78%. So about a 50% increase there over those 5 years. Also, looking at 2019 compared to 2021, this is going to be the payroll that you paid into. So in 2019, you paid 19.4 million in payroll. In 2021, you paid a similar 19.3 million. However, you paid with what you paid into the retirement system, you paid almost 2.4 million in 2019 and 2.85 in 2021. So you got about $476,000 more that you guys are having to pay into the retirement system as a school board for very, very similar payroll. And that's something you guys as a board have no control over. So, one of the many challenges that you guys have is how to make up for that, without adding positions. The state's going to fund part of it. But you'll have, local expenditures, federal expenditures, dollar allotments, and a real challenge for you guys in trying to figure out how to make those dollars work, because almost $500,000 is very impactful to you guys for what is basically wages of one different position. So just wanted to point that out, especially as you guys have some of this federal money, some of the state retirement might end up getting hidden or buried as this influx of money comes in and continue to be a challenge. As you can see, there's not a year that it's gone down from a percentage standpoint. So something to keep in mind when you're looking at level payroll expenses still are increasing with that. Then the last thing that I wanted to kind of point out and show you guys is the audit report. This is going to be the findings for federal award this one's the internal controls. And this is going to be if there was a material issue or mistake, is the finance department likely to catch it? And we determined that the finance department has good internal controls, that they would likely catch if there was a problem and be able to correct it before it became an issue. That good news on the internal controls. The next report is going to be compliance with federal awards. As you know, every award received from the federal government, there's pages and pages of compliance requirements, and these are really black and white. And pleased to report that we found no issues with compliance on any federal awards that you guys received. And the last report is on state awards, similar outcome. Again, no issues. You guys did a great job of being in compliance on federal and state awards. So only good things to share on the audit, and really appreciate staff's cooperation and willingness to give us the information, and really enjoyed working with them. So thank you guys and your staff and for all of your hard work that you guys put in, and all of the difficult decisions that you make in supporting staff. Do you have any questions on the audit? All right. Well, thank you for having me today.
All right. Well, Shannon, thank you so much. Always good for a good audit report. So thank you. And thank you to Ms. Cold Iron and her team that have put all that together. I'm sure they go home sometimes cross-eyed at all the numbers that they look at as well as you do, Shannon. So thank you all for your work there. Right. Moving along on the agenda here, we've got next public comment. I do have, as always, a copy of our policy that we have for public comment, and I'll read that now before going into the list of folks. So in accordance with policy 2310, the board chairperson will recognize speakers in the order at which they are signed in. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments to the board. However, the public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes total except by a majority vote of the board. If a speaker is unable to present all of his or her information within the specified time limit, the speaker may provide the board with an additional written information. Please refrain from addressing a specific employee, board member, or student concerns as a part of public comment. Concerns can be directed to the district leadership as prescribed in this policy. Board members will not respond to the individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. The board chairperson has the authority to speak on behalf of the board and to refer concerns to administration. Except in cases of emergency, information received during these presentations will not be acted upon at the time they are received. So I'm going to bounce back here to my list here. And so first for public comment, I believe we do have Mr. William Ernest Crosby listed first on our public comment. Okay, I said, Mr. Crosby, can you hear us?
Mr. Crosby, if you can please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we've got you unmuted there.
Okay. Thank you, board. Hope everyone had a happy holidays. I come to y'all tonight. I know that we were going to go back to school. I know with all of this new stuff that's going on, y'all probably be voting on the mask again tonight. I just asked the board to take under consideration. We've talked about this mask back and forth between all of us. I just asked the board to take under consideration that if we're going to go back to mask and we're that afraid of our children being in school, that maybe we should just go back to remote learning for the rest of the year. I mean, you're having kids pulled out of school left and right. I talk to people on a daily basis that say they're pulling their kids out of school. And it's all over them not having the choice. I'm going to say that. And then I'm going to also say, I sat here and listened to this financial statement. I think a lot of what this board needs to be thinking about other than the coronavirus is what about our teachers that are leaving in mass majorities because they're not being paid enough in this school system? I'm sure y'all have the power to do that. And if you do, I ask that maybe the teachers get a raise because they're the ones who's going through all this, not us. They're teaching our kids every day. And why don't we ask their opinions? Why don't we have them vote on the mask? Why don't we have them vote on how things should go into school? Because we're all sitting in the background and we don't know what's going on, and the teachers do. I think we need to take a lot more. I think this board needs to listen to the teachers a lot more. I think you need to listen to your students a lot more. And I really do think that this board needs to make two major decisions. One being, if the kids are in such danger of going to school without a mask on, maybe we should go remote. And two, let's look out for our teachers and coaches that are coaching and teaching our kids on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. Next, we've got more public comment here. Mr. Nathan Wolford.
Mr. Oden, I am not seeing Mr. Wolford.
Okay, all right.
If he jumps on and then before public
Right.
comments are over, I will let you know.
Okay, and I assume next I have on here is Alyssa Wolford. Is she on either?
No, sir, she's not.
Okay, all right, well, just let me know. We'll just keep going down our list here for now, and if they do pop up, just let us know. So next on the list, I have Mr. Mike Peters.
I am not seeing Mr. Peters either.
Okay. Let me see. You have Jenny Holmes. Is
I
she on?
do.
Okay. If you want to, we'll jump in with Miss Holmes. So Jenny Holmes is the last one I have here, unless the others pop on.
Can you hear?
Yes, Miss Holmes, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Just
are you just audio?
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll turn the floor over you to address the board for 3 minutes.
I just strongly encourage you guys to mandate masks again due to the rising numbers in COVID cases in order that we can try to keep the numbers down and keep all of us safe as we possibly can. And that's really all I have to say.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Holmes, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker, has anybody else popped back up on your screen?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well,
Mr. Oden, I actually asked them when I had Bailey put their telephone number on here as well. So if they were to have called in, I could recognize their telephone number, but I'm not seeing that either.
okay. All right. Thank you. So at this time, this will conclude the session on public comment for this meeting. We'll move on down the agenda into our action items. First item up for approval that we have is the approval of our minutes, and those will be for the December 6th closed session and the December 6th board meeting as well. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we approve both of the December minutes.
Okay, so I have a motion
A second.
and a second from Dr. Simmons. All those in favor that are, we can see your face, raise your hand. Mr. McClure, if you'll say aye or nay, either way.
Diane,
Aye.
you're muted.
I'm trying to unmute and it
There you
won't do
go.
it.
There you go.
Finally got
You're
it.
unmuted. There you go.
I have a question. Were we to include the October meeting in these minutes as well that we got the notification from today?
Okay. So we had it on the last meeting. Yes, Josh sent them to me today, and so I forwarded it to the full board today. So you can include those in this meeting, or you can wait to approve them at a future meeting if you didn't have time to look at them.
So anybody want to make a
Thank you.
motion to, we had them in our list last month to approve. So, but we'll go ahead with, anybody want to approve the October minutes from the special meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve those minutes and get them
Published.
off the agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, Ms. Jones, I see her seconding there. So any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand or speak up.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so that takes care of our minutes. Got a couple of memorandums of understanding there. The first one that I've got here is the MOU with Wilkes Community College, with the community college there. So I'll let Dr. Talks talk about that.
So we have two MOUs with our community college. It's standard to have an MOU or more with our community college based on the different partnerships that we have. One of them is specifically through CCP, and the other one is specific to our CTE program. So the CCP document, the draft CCP MOU. I did share that with the board attorney, Fred. He did share this today, that there is one piece that is likely not enforceable based on some student fees. So other than that, he said that excuse me, and that's if students were, that's with the withholding of grades, said that that would not be enforceable on their part to withhold student grades if they had a delinquent account. What I did share with him is, however, if we do have students who have difficulty in financial circumstances where their fees, whether it be for a lab or something else, would be a burden on them, we do have a process where we can look into that for families. So, but that, of course, that piece is on their end. Not ours, but I said that I could have that specific item removed, so it's not in there at all. So that's one MOU. Everything else is, like I said, it's all standard language from the community college. And then the second one is the local articulation agreement with Wilkes, and Earl Pennington, our CTE director, is the one who works really hard to make this happen and increase the partnerships that we have and the programs that we have that articulate directly to the community college. And so there is a process for students to be awarded that college credit for the CTE courses, and it outlines the different programs, and you can see on page 2 and page 3 the specific programs that we offer that do locally articulate to the community college so students can get college credit for those courses and not have to retake them when they take a class on our campus.
Okay. Any questions on either of these MOUs?
Dr. Cox, I have a concern for both of these MOUs. They were supposed to be approved in July. They ran out June 30th. So is there some way we can get this? I feel a little uncomfortable letting 6 months go by to get these things in place. I would like to see them in place before we actually begin implementing the new school year. So
we intend to have these as soon as they are available to us moving forward. There should not be changes at all to the MOU for the, I don't anticipate changes unless there's a state change to the MOU for the draft CCP MOU. And that's pretty standard and something that hadn't been in place to this detail before. And so that was it took a while to collaborate on that, and that process did not start until this late fall. And the second one, however, Earl can answer based on courses, but we have had welding in place, and it's a matter of getting Anyway, Earl can answer that question versus me talking. He's on there now. I see him.
Ms. Eldredge, something we had to do with this articulation agreement that we looked at last year with WCC, and we just didn't have the answers. And when the state changed the proof of learnings from the state assessment to the performance-based measures and the attainment of the credentials, we didn't know how that looked. We didn't know how to give credits for that. So I worked with WCC Ashe with Ms. Kendra Perkins there and Chris Robinson, and we worked with the instructors at Wilkes Community College down off the mountain, and we provided the standards and what the industry credentials look like, and gave them a sample, or gave them the actual PBM, the performance-based measure, and let them look at, well, how does this compare with the courses that we're teaching, so that we could align. And therefore, under the first section there, process to document and award credit, we had to add those bullets in there, and it took some communication back and forth, but this was something that just had to be done. So, and again, that credit isn't awarded until the students enroll at WCC. So it's a if they enroll, then they get the credits with that. But I agree, we usually do this in August, but it took a couple months to work back and forth, and I appreciate the communication and flexibility with WCC and their work with this.
I realized that some of the changes the state had been working on for a while, so we didn't get those until later. But I would hope that if we can, that we would get those approved in August, so that we are all on the same page for the school year from the beginning.
We agree.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions about the health department MOU. Do we have a board? Do we have a board member on the advisory council now? The health advisory council?
I don't know that we do, but I mean, Ms. Eldredge, if it's okay, let's vote on these, and then we've got the health department right up next with their MOU, if that's okay.
I thought we were discussing both of them at the same time.
No, there's two for the community college
Okay.
that we're talking about. The CCP MOU and the local articulation with WCC are the two under that line item.
Okay.
So yeah, well, I just
I lumped those together in my head. So
that's okay. That's no problem. Any other questions about the community college MOUs?
are we still doing Wilkes Community Colleges before school at the high school classes?
We do.
We had done that in the past. I didn't see that listed, but I wondered if we still did.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the MOUs for the community college, you will raise your hand or state aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next is with the MOU with the health department there.
So we do have Jennifer Green, who is here to answer those questions for you. The question you had about a board member, I've been told that it's usually a school organized group, but they can appoint a board member moving forward. So she's in there somewhere, Amy, if you can find Jennifer Green. And from what I'm also told, this group has not been, hasn't met in a while due to COVID. So it was likely in a former board that might have happened.
Dr. Cox, Ms. Green was in a little bit earlier, but she has dropped off. But one of our folks from public comments is now in. So if I just wanted to let you know that, but I'm not seeing Ms. Green. She may jump back on.
She just texted me and says, I'm still here. App Healthcare is what it's listed as.
Right. I saw her just a little bit earlier, but she is not showing up right now.
Okay.
Oh, wait, there she is. Take it back.
Okay.
I apologize. I probably should have changed my name. Good evening.
Good evening. So we're talking about the MOU with the health department there. Any questions or anything you need to highlight, Ms. Green?
I think one thing I would just say is this is pretty standard. We've had an MOU in place for as long as I can remember, between the school system and the health department, that talks about how we collaborate, how we work together. I don't think there's anything new in here. And as Dr. Cox mentioned, the School Health Advisory Committee, and really in the historical picture that I have is that it's intended to try to help support school goals. That's part of your strategic plan. So really, I think COVID has sort of thrown a wrench in all of that. And we've been meeting, but on COVID things. So I hope that there will be a point soon we'll be able to talk about other things to, and how we can support the overall strategic vision of the school district. So, but happy to have involvement. I'm sure we'll be planning on that at some point in the future.
I also want to say, as far as the MOU is concerned, because our minds immediately go to COVID, because that seems to be a lot of what we talk about. And that's our relationship with, at least mine has been with the health department since I've been here as COVID. But we partner with the health department on a lot of things, from dental screenings to hearing and vision, and making sure that we have appropriate services for our kids. And, our nurses will collaborate when they see things. Jennifer brought up, a case of head lice. And if you've got, there are other things that have happened outside of COVID that, we have a working relationship with the health department. It's mainly our nurses who are in contact with their team. But we have, Jennifer and I have talked a couple of times today. And I know that our teams have also talked multiple times over the last, as long as I remember.
Any board members have any questions for Ms. Green?
Again, do we have a BOE member on the advisory council for the health department? This year, it might have been really good, considering how much we've been involved with the health department this year. I know we have in the past.
Yeah, so I guess to respond to your question, it's normally we collaborate and it's a school called meeting. Usually you have school representatives, meaning teachers or your directors, nurses, parents, and of course board members can be part of it. The group has not met in quite a while, but in the past we have worked closely with your staff team to try to organize it. We just haven't met because the same group of people have been, I would say the same group of people, the same group of staff, I should say, have been working more on COVID things. But I do look forward to us getting together because I do think you're right. Having a board member involved is a great idea.
There was one other question, and this is for my own education probably, but
yeah.
In this agreement, we have nationally certified nurses. What is that process for a nationally certified nurse?
The North Carolina Division of Public Health can support, there's a school nurse consultant that can help support all of the school nurses in achieving that school nurse certification. And Dr. Cox, you may want to comment more on that, but we are also happy to support that as well in different ways. I know we've had a lot of collaboration with the nurses over the years.
And I don't know which one of our nurses have that certification. I'd have to actually look that up. But all of our nurses are certified nurses. They're
right.
board certified nurses. So as far as the additional certification, I don't have that information offhand. But we can get it for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just would like to repeat my comment that I'm sure there are very extenuating circumstances while we're just doing the MOU this year. but it looks like it should have gone into effect July 1. So I'm hoping we can get that more aligned when we don't have as much preparation for COVID at the beginning of school.
And I'll just say, I think that was an oversight on our part. We submitted 2 agreements and we just, one got signed and the other one didn't, and we just missed it. So I agree with you. That's our goal, is to do that in the summer ahead of time in the future. So we'll be working closely with Dr. Cox to hopefully we can talk about other things besides COVID this coming summer.
Nice.
Yes.
I do have the information for you. All of our nurses are nationally certified, except for one who is actually working through that process currently. So we have all of our nurses are nationally certified.
Good for them. That's a great thing.
We have great people here.
Mhm. Very good. Well, I'll open the floor for a motion to accept the MOU with the health department.
I'll make the motion that we accept the MOU with the App Health Department.
Okay. And I assume will you second it, Ms. Jones? I saw you.
Yes.
All
I'll
right.
second.
All right. So we have a motion and second. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, if you'll raise your hand or state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. If it's okay with the board, we do have an individual that was for public comment that was not able to get in. And I think Ms. Walker said she had them on. If it's okay with the board, we can go back and hear them on there. And Ms. Walker, I believe, is this Mr. Peters or?
Yes, it is Mr. Peters.
Okay.
He should be coming in right now.
Mr. Peters, you're on mute.
Mr. Peters, if you can please unmute.
There you go.
Yes, it is Mr. Peters.
Okay. Okay. Oh, you're muted again. Okay. You're on mute.
I know. No.
Okay.
It says I'm
we
off
can
mute.
hear you. We can hear you and see you.
Oh, done.
Mr. If you can please unmute.
Hello.
Yes, it is Mr. Okay, guys, I think, Mr. Peters, you've got that, I believe you're playing our YouTube video in the background, and we are hearing that a little bit delayed, so you might want to mute that for us.
Okay, sorry. So me and my mom came across this picture of Miss Polly Jones and Miss Dr. Cox.
We can't address board members by Mr. Peters. We cannot address board members.
You just tell them they were in school.
You guys were in school with no masks, and we had to be in school with masks. So I'm confused why you guys don't have to wear a mask when you guys are in our school, but we have to. I was just confused. I don't know, but I've had to wait 2 years for the mask to be off my face. I mean, I take it off anyway. I don't care, but I don't like it because my teachers just scream at me when I kind of like have my mask off, and it's kind of annoying. It's my face. It's no one else's face. I can control what my body does. They can't tell me to pull something up on my face. I don't know. It's kind of stupid, but that's why me and my sister and all these other girls just drink their water in the whole entire class and just have their mask down the whole entire time. Because we don't very much care about the masks. You guys just keep promoting them and making them keep them on our faces instead of just make it optional. We should be able to do what we want to do with our faces. And outside in gym class. In gym class we have to run, and we have to do this thing where we do like push-ups, sit-ups, running laps. It's hard to breathe when we're in that, but Coach Gill does not like, he is never mind. That's just kind of dumb that we have to go and do it with our masks on and on, because it's hard to run and breathe at the same exact time. It's hard because the mask, when you breathe, it goes on my lips, and it feels really weird, and it's not fun to have on. I was just also confused why you guys didn't have to wear a mask in the school that we go in, and you guys are telling us that we have to, even though you guys are saying keep your masks on because coronavirus is it's not that dangerous, but you guys are making it seem like it's the most dangerous virus in the world. Like, it's not that. Yes, it's bad. It's a thing, but it's
Mr.
not.
Peters, your time is up. I would like, as board chair, I can clarify that picture that you're addressing there, because I believe I am in that picture as well with Miss Jones and Dr. Cox in that picture. We were able to receive a visit from the state superintendent of North Carolina, who came up, and I will state Miss Jones and I both, due to policy, did have our mask on, as well as Dr. Cox, our whole time in the visit with the school. The only time those masks come off, we did have a picture with the state superintendent, and we removed our mask for that picture, and that was the picture that was posted. I also have a picture of Miss Jones and myself with the state superintendent, and we all three are wearing masks at the same time. So just to clarify that was just a snapshot taking. Just as the Blue Ribbon School, your photograph was taken in your class at the Blue Ribbon celebration, and I can remember being there with you all, and those masks were asked to be taken down while that photograph was taken, just for that short snidbit of time. So that picture was a snapshot, but I just wanted to clarify that for you on there, Mr. Peters. Thank you for coming on this evening. Thank you. Okay, so thank you all for letting us back up there for just a minute to catch up to them, since they sometimes Zooms are not the easiest things to communicate and maneuver through, but we were able to get them on. So thank you for doing that. So we'll go back to action items. Under number 4, we have our 2022-23 fiscal year budget planning calendar. So I assume we'll have Ms. Coldiron with us here to kind of give us a little update of what we've got to look forward to budget-wise.
Let me get Amanda on just one second.
So while Amanda is getting on, this is standard information that we have to provide, just sharing with you the process that we go through to create the next year's calendar. And although we are in the process of really working through the current budget that we have and implementing some of the mandates that we just received from the state, we have to prepare documents and get feedback and bring some things to you so that we can get our local funding through our county commission. There's Amanda. She can explain anything more.
Good evening, board. Glad to see everybody, even if it is on Zoom. Of course, I do like it when we're all in person, much better. In the attachments was the 2022-23 budget calendar. Many of these dates are required by law. We start this process, and it's hard to believe it's already time to start it for 22-23. This has been an unbelievable fast year, and I'm sure the second half of this year is going to go just as quickly. We will send out probably in the morning a request to directors, principals, athletics to submit their request to us. that we will go through, and we will sit down and have individual meetings with those people and talk about what they want to bring to you as the board as a request. We will do those meetings with them probably late February, early March, and then we will bring to you all at the April meeting the requests the directors have made. We probably will need to schedule a work session in there at some point because it will take longer than what we have at a board meeting. We will need to get our information to the commissioners in April as well, usually late April, 1st of May. And typically they call us up in June to talk over our request. And then we hear most often the last week in June, first week of July, what the county is going to fund for us. Do you have any questions on the budget calendar?
Don't hear any. So we'll kind of give us a roundabout idea of some dates that you'll give us as we approach those.
We will. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And Amanda, this doesn't have to be approved, correct? I mean,
It does
these are all
not.
state-
This is informational.
for this part. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess, Amanda, you'll stay up with us as we continue down bonuses and supplement proposals for information.
Yeah.
And this
You know-
one's really exciting.
It is
Yay.
exciting. It is exciting. So, you know, we finally got our budget in November, late November, and we've been wading through all this legislation. What we have discovered, part of this legislation is sorely underfunded. You know, we talk about underfunded mandates or non-funded mandates all the time, but there are a couple that they just didn't provide enough money that's even going to cover what they say we have to pay. So we're going to have to find other sources, probably our ESSER funding. We do know that we will be allowed to use ESSER to come up with some of these shortfalls. The first thing I want to talk about is the COVID training bonus. They made it specifically for teachers and instructional support to get that money. And when I say instructional support, I mean your media people, your nurses, your counselors. It does not include people who've been here with us the whole time, people who've been in the building every day, our child nutrition, our bus drivers, our office support staff. So what Dr. Cox and I'd like to present to you is using additional ESSER funding to provide the COVID training money for everybody and not make it exclusive of just that group.
It was really hard, just like you shared about the COVID training. Everybody has undergone a lot of training over the last year and a half. They've read more about COVID than I think we have done in a long time on any topic. And I think it's really tough, although we are appreciative of the state for providing money for our teachers and some of our support staff. But when it's some of our support staff and not all of our support staff, that's really hard. And so we want to be able to say, we see you, we hear you, we know you've all been there. And that's why we want to be able to provide that. And of course, it would take extra funding, but we can do that out of ESSER. So this would allow us to provide funding, that bonus for everybody, regardless of position.
Do you need this in a motion?
I think we need to take them individually because we're using ESSER funding. We'll need to be able to show the auditors when we come that it has been approved by the board.
So we can approve it as a whole?
No, we need to approve each bonus separately.
Okay, so so let's see, you've got it broken down.
So
that's the first
COVID
one.
training one. Yeah, the COVID
Okay.
training one first.
All right, so the COVID training one, then make sure I'm on the right one here. The total cost is $456,841.
Yes.
And then the ESSER will pay the remaining of that. So if everybody's on that same page there. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the COVID training bonus.
I
Mr.
make a
Chairman, I
motion
make
that
a
we
motion
approve
we,
the COVID training bonus.
Okay. And I heard that from
I'll
Dr.
second the motion.
And Mr. McClure will second that motion. Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
I don't think the number was mentioned, but it's, or maybe I missed it, but it's $1,000 each for every school
$1,000.
employee.
Yes.
I'm very excited about this. I am so excited that y'all found a way to do this and that we can use those extra monies for the key people in our school system, because they're the ones that keep the ball going.
We'd have never made it without our child nutrition ladies and our bus drivers and custodians when we were shut down and they were packing lunches and driving them individually to homes. They stepped up and above and beyond. And honestly, they're tired. They're very tired.
And often it's almost impossible for us to be able to include them in some of the mandates from the state. So this is really exciting.
And I don't want to leave out our office support, because they got on those buses and rode just as well, like everybody else. They made sure every kid got a meal in those early days of COVID, and it was spectacular to watch that happen. And I couldn't be prouder of them.
Really,
And it continues today.
It does.
It continues today, every day, every day.
we appreciate all that you've done to try to make this possible as well. I know it's been extra work and extra time, but it's well worth it. So thank you for that too.
All right. So all those in favor of the COVID training bonus, if you'll raise your hand or state aye.
Do both? Aye.
That works. So I make sure, Amanda, I'm going right. So the next one on here I have is just teacher bonuses.
It is the teacher bonus. So this is in lieu of what used to be the performance bonuses for third grade reading and fourth through eighth grade math and reading, I believe. And so because testing has been a little wonky for the last 2 years, they're doing this instead of the larger bonuses. So they're providing something for everybody. So the problem is right now we really don't know the total cost. I think this, Dr. Cox, was this the one that was going to come in later?
I think there might be two of them. They're coming in later, but this one is one of them.
So these are my best guesstimate numbers of what I think we're going to have to use. The total cost is $67,174, and then the state funding, I think we're going to get around $55,000. And so we would only need to use about 11,400 of the ESSER funds to cover the other teachers.
Okay.
And just so everyone is clear, essentially they're providing for the number of state teachers, but we have teachers who are paid out of federal, some that are paid out of local, and the teachers don't know that. I mean, sometimes those are moving parts, and we want to make sure that all of our teachers receive the bonus, that all teachers receive the bonus.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the teacher bonuses.
I missed, how much is it?
How much?
It's 300.
300. Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion that we approve this bonus for our teachers.
Okay.
Second it.
All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, if you raise your hand or state aye, either way.
Aye.
Thank you. And then next I've got here is the supplement pay increase.
And we tag team on this one because
We can, because we're both super excited about this one, because this is what we've been working towards with all the salary studies and the supplement studies. So I know that this right now is just funded for 2 years, but this is a step moving us toward what we've been trying to do and to show our appreciation to our staff. And the state did step up and provide some funding. Of course, it was only for state paid personnel,
yeah,
not our local paid and not our non-certified paid. So, you know, I've said this many, many times in the past, I can't justify myself giving one group of people an increase in the supplement and not giving it to everybody. It's just not right. It takes all the parts to keep this school system going. And, but this is a step in the right direction. So they told us what we had to pay teachers. They told us we needed to increase our supplement by $1,672. That was underfunded as well, based on the number of teachers and instructional personnel we have.
And so what we wanted to do was ensure, I mean, currently our supplement for our classified staff is $300. And that's one of the lowest in the state. And, I know that we have, as a small school district, we are limited in our funding. However, with this help from the state and this commitment for the next 2 years from the state for our certified personnel, some of our certified personnel, Amanda and I were back and forth. Okay, what can we really do? Because we have more than just this to tackle from our classified personnel perspective. So we're having to make some choices, but this is actually doable for the next 2 years based on the different funds that are listed in that table. So 1672 additional would go to all of our certified personnel, and that's additional. And then we would increase the classified personnel to $1,000. And that's a huge increase at once. It's far better than 300. I think I hope our classified staff appreciates or will having this extra money. We wish we could do more, but this is what we figured we could do out of our current local expense, because Amanda geniusly earlier in the year budgeted 3.5%, and for the increase, and the 2.5% is what was given to the state employees. And with that percentage, it moves us closer to the ability to do that. So we decided that we would put that into increasing the supplement for every staff. So anyway, I'm excited about that one because it's not something we've ever been able to afford to do before. And we've figured out a way to at least make a step in the right direction.
And I mean, I do want to caution that these funds are only approved, the state funds are only approved for 2 years. So if, in the next biennium budget process, if they take this away, we're going to have to either make some serious cuts in our funds, in our programs, or we're going to have to go to the county and ask for support for this. If you remember, at the end of last year, we were also able to give $500 to everybody as a small appreciation of everything that they've been done. So, our expenses are running just about the same as they were last year. So I feel like we're solid in being able to provide this out of local. And
we've also, I think, budgeted for anticipate some increases in, just heating and air and things that are incidental with all the costs going up. But even with that, I think we're okay currently to be able to do this because we've received that money for the rest of the teachers under that state budget. And so I would, if you all will approve this piece, I recommend, and I think Amanda recommends, that we do it for 2 years because we don't know what, if this will be continued within the budget. But I think our commitment to everyone is, we've got to really figure out how to move mountains for our people. And I know you guys are all committed to that because I hear it often, what can we do to get our people more? Well, it takes time to be able to do that. And it takes choices. And we've been making some pretty tough choices, but we're also been pretty good with our money to make that a possibility. So anyway, and things like child nutrition or our pre-K, those are different pots of money that we don't locally have to pay for, but their budgets are in good shape right now to be able to do that.
Dr. Cox, I have a question. In the past, we have prorated some supplements and some bonuses. Is this going to be prorated or is this going to be straight across the board?
Typically, that's how you handle it. And most of the guidance we've gotten from DPI about the other bonuses is you prorate it based on the FTEs.
So if they're a half-time employee, they currently get half of the bonus. So or half of the supplement. So they would get half of whatever that is. So it is prorated from that perspective. But it's still a large jump from what they're currently getting.
And on top of this, they get the premium pay bonus that the state is covering completely. And that is up to $1,500 for people making less than $75,000 a year. So there's a lot of good things coming to everybody. I am pleased that the state recognized that morale is an issue. I wish on the supplement piece they hadn't singled out just teachers and instructional support. I wish it had been funding for everybody because, you know, everybody's important to the process.
And I also want to say as well, and Amanda and I have really toyed over this one as well. We have some work to do with our classified salaries to get them on the steps that they need to be on. And right now we cannot afford that at this point in time. But this is a step toward getting them money that they deserve. And we're working on a process to bring to you and a plan. And of course, we're going to have to take it to our county as well so that they can. So, I mean, we're the largest employer. We need to be able to pay our people at least what is a competitive wage, not asking for, you know, over the moon anything, but at least a competitive wage so that we can entrust the best people to our children, or entrust our children to the best people.
Well, I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the supplemental pay.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we approve the supplement increase.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. All right. Any other questions or discussion items? Hearing none, all those in favor, if you will, raise your hand or state aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Motion carries. And then I think the last one we have on here to discuss is the sign-on bonus.
Okay, so this one, because we receive small county funding, we are eligible to receive some funds for new hires, new teacher hires. We had about 10 new hires in the time frame that DPI says we're allowed to pay this. The only issue with this is it's a dollar for dollar match. So it has to be matched from local funds. We can't use federal funds. You never can match federal funds with federal funds. That's just the way those grants work. So it would end up costing local about $10,765 to give the new hires this bonus.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the sign-on bonus?
Chairman, I make the motion, we approve the sign-on bonus.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, if you will, raise your hand or state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And if I could have one of you, either Dr. Cox or Ms. Coldiron, just for everybody listening out there, I know there's a lot of things that me not being from the school system, I know other people, I'm learning acronyms I haven't known before, as well as other terms, which I know now, but I mean, you were talking about certified, classified staff. So can you kind of tell folks so they can kind of get an idea what groups you were talking about there?
So your certified staff are going to be those that are primarily instructional staff. They have to have a certification, a license to do the work that they do. There's probably a more technical definition of that. And our classified staff are a lot of those support positions, such as your cafeteria workers, your custodians, and other staff that do not require that state license in order to be able to do. Is there a better definition, Amanda, than that?
No, that's pretty spot on.
And we have lists, so, of who is what. So if anybody has any questions on where you fall under that, we're happy to answer that for you. But if, we're happy to answer that for you.
I know there's a lot of terms going out, so I thought it
There
was
are.
time to clarify those a little bit to know which group people were falling in. So I think that got them all under those. Is that correct?
That got them all.
All right. Well, we'll move on next to personal leave, number 6.
So you may do this one, Amanda, since you
Sure.
talked to Fred.
Sure. I talked to Mr. Johnson about this one today. I had hoped to get some verbiage from him. There was a change in the personnel leave law. And it says if a teacher provides a reason, they will not be deducted what used to be the $50 a day. Now it is the total cost of the sub. So for instance, if you used a teacher assistant as a sub in the classroom that day, it's going to cost that teacher over $250 if they don't provide a reason.
That's
Now,
if 5 days, right?
Yeah. If they ask for their personal leave 5 days before that, they don't have to give an excuse. So that, that is one caveat to that. This legislation is not my favorite. I don't know how to say it. It's personal leave. It's personal. To me, we don't need to know everything that they're needing to do. Some people just need to keep some things private. So, I don't like this legislation, but I am charged with making sure we do it right. Fred did say he was going to reach out to the School Boards Association and see if they had any guidance on it. He did not get back to me today, but I know he's been super busy. But we will be bringing something back to the board probably in February that gives us a little more solid footing on what a valid reason is. That's the term that's being used. What is a valid reason for them to be able to take personal leave? To me, again, it's none of our business. If they need to take off a day, they should be allowed to take off a day. And I've thought for many years that the $50 deduction just needed to go away.
Mhm.
It's just ridiculous. So, I don't want to get on my soapbox about it, but that is how I feel about it. So we will be bringing more information back to you on that leave.
But we did want to know, because it's already implemented and happening. We've sent to teachers the information specifically about taking that leave, and they're putting it into the link system currently to request it. If they request it 5 days in advance, they don't have to give us a reason. But oftentimes things come up in a shorter notice that they might have to take that leave or might need to take that leave for. And while most people go ahead and give us a reason, we want to make sure that we have language that allows us to say, yes, this is a valid reason, and take that off of you. So anyway, we're hopeful that Fred will get back to us soon after some additional clarification with the School Boards Association.
What happens between now and then as far as personal leave?
We have to put a reason.
I can remember getting up and having a family emergency that I need to take a personal leave for right then.
Yeah.
How do we plan on handling that until we get some additional clarification?
I think we just approve it and go forth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's, if they have a reason in there, that's what gets approved.
Family
If
emergency.
they don't have a reason, that's what we can't approve via the law. And that's why we wanted some language in there, because it does say school boards have local discretion on what is a valid reason. And so we want to make sure that, I don't think we need to be sharing, hey, so-and-so had this, that, or the other. To me, We want to take that off of everybody involved, give the parameters and have the legalese around it so that our teachers can take off when they need to do that.
Will this be a matter of public record, the reason they took off?
I don't believe so.
Good.
Any other questions? Some more to come on that one in February. Next, we'll go into personnel. I'll open the floor, I guess. We've talked.
But
Yes.
I have just one,
Yes, ma'am.
a little bit of clarification, and the bonuses, when will that occur?
Well, we have to submit our revision to our ESSER money to see if DPI will approve the plan. They
Okay.
have been super quick. So our goal is to get most everything paid this month, along with retro pay for raises. But it is a lot, and a lot of it will depend on DPI and how quickly they turn around the ESSER approval. Now,
The other
the
piece-
supplement probably will not be paid till March or April because we don't have all the guidance from DPI on that.
Okay.
But the other things, my girls are already working on putting codes in, and they're working on doing the calculations to have everything ready, just a key when we get that approval, and they'll be ready to go. We have to finish payroll around the 21st this month to order money. So they really only have 3 weeks to do it in, plus regular payroll. But they are, like I said, they were texting back and forth yesterday and including me on their text. And I finally said, girls, you've got 1 day of vacation left. Go enjoy it. Don't worry about this today.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So personnel, we talked about that some in closed session, and you've got the personnel agenda in front of you there in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to accept the personnel.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion, we accept the personnel agenda.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McClure. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the personnel agenda, if you will, raise your hand or state aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Next, we'll go into number 8, COVID-19 and mask. So I guess we'll just go down through the data first, and then we'll open the floor after that for motions on there. So I've got first data and information that Dr. Cox sent us, as well from our school nurses.
So I sent you, first of all, I added in where we were in December. That was what you had been emailed the week from ending December 17th. And then I emailed you as well the metrics since August. And this is as of today with some of the things that came in over break, the things that we actually know about. And so our numbers are in that document. I've also included several links, and the links are to a few things that hopefully will provide you and the public information on where some of the numbers come from. And so there is a CDC Ashe County information. Just in general, there's a CDC data tracker that provides information as well. App Health has their data dashboard. And then I included the December 17th update from App Health. Their latest one, because of the holidays, won't come out until January 7th with the new information. I think all of them show, we've had some increases across the country, across the state, and of course, here in Ashe County as well, from what we were seeing before within COVID, but all the data is provided in those links. Lastly on there, the last two things are the vaccination dashboard. So it shows the different groups of people and what percent are actually vaccinated, and then a copy of Senate Bill 654 that's been in there for a long time. That's what tells you all that you have to do this each and every month, even if there is no change in data. So regardless of how you vote this month, again, unless it changes, and I haven't heard anything about any type of change, you'll be voting on this again in March.
I had my mute button on, sorry. Any questions? You want to go on into the guidance and NC the HHS and test to stay while we're at it?
Can. So Strong Schools NC Toolkit has changed. It came out, I think they changed it on the 30th, published it on the 31st, which, as you know, was Friday, New Year's Eve. And so this weekend, we have spent some time looking over the toolkit. That link to the toolkit is there, and then highlighted in red is are the different changes that North Carolina DHHS has implemented in the toolkit as recommended by the CDC. And so quite a few changes, and we have been working with our partners at App Healthcare. Today, our school nurses have been on calls. Myself and Jennifer Green have been back and forth, just making sure that we have all of that information. So when students come back to school and teachers and students are present in school, that we are implementing, that we're supporting the health department in implementing those changes. So the biggest notable one that I think many people have heard about are the reduced quarantines. And so we're talking about 5 days instead of 7 or 10. That's huge. And of course, there are different variables, whether they're wearing masks, whether they're vaccinated, and of course, it does not reduce quarantine for those who don't wear masks. So you have to wear a mask when you come back for those next 5 days, but for those first 5 days, it's only a 5-day quarantine instead of 7 or 10. We are working and have just gotten some information specific to test to stay. So their parameters have changed based on that 5-day. So it'll be fewer rather than going all the way to this day 7. It'll end at day 5 at this point in time. But again, anyone who is under those quarantine protocols have to wear a mask when they come back, or they have to quarantine for the entire time. And 2 other changes that are implemented in the Strong Schools NC Toolkit that were recently implemented, but now are no longer, well, more recently, I don't say recently, more recently implemented, but are no longer acceptable by the CDC. The antibody tests are no longer accepted. And I hear the reasoning for part of this is because there are other variants, and a lot of people, regardless of what strain you've gotten, are getting the new variants. And the second piece of that, is the antibody tests. And so those are no longer acceptable forms. So if you've had COVID that was the antibody test, but then also if you've had COVID within the last 90 days, you are no longer exempt from quarantining. So those 2 things are big changes within the toolkit. But I think the biggest, and hopefully the ones people appreciate, are the lessened quarantine times, because we want kids to be in school. They need to be in school. I want healthy kids in school, and I know you all do too. I did want to give you some information because it's not broken down this specifically, but as far as vaccinations are concerned, about 15% of 5 to 11, age 5 to 11 in Ashe County are vaccinated, and 30% of 12 to 17 are vaccinated in Ashe County.
Anybody have any questions?
So Josh, I also want to say that we got to collaborate with the health department one more time on the flow chart to make sure that it's updated and gets published. And we will be sending this information out and publishing it on our website as well. So staff will get an email that has the updated guidance on it that we are required to follow in this toolkit, and has a summary of it, as well as the flow chart, which is a little bit easier than reading a whole bunch of words. The flow chart is a little bit easier to understand. So we want to make sure that we provide that at the same time. I anticipate doing that tomorrow evening. So families should get an update pretty quickly, and staff.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? We are at it's amazing how 30 days pass so quickly. So 30 days has passed, and under current law, the board does have to make a decision on mask in our schools. So I will open the floor for a motion. We're gonna have to have something.
Go ahead, Kim.
I make a motion that we continue with our plan from the previous month, that masks go optional for K-12.
Okay. Do I have a
I
second?
second the motion.
Okay, so I have a motion
I
and
second.
second. And just to clarify, that is a mask optional for K-12, kindergarten through 12. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion or questions right now? No.
Concerned again about the rising rates of COVID and how it's affecting our children. 35% of the people who have been hospitalized have been children nationwide. I know that we've had some cases in Ashe County where infants have had COVID, and I'm not sure if they were hospitalized or not, but they were taken to the hospital to be examined, and I am very concerned. I know there's some stuff out there that masks do not do the job, but it's what we have. And I know that there are increased masking everywhere right now in the United States. We're seeing it. We're even seeing colleges going remote. And I think we need to do everything that has a potential for helping keep our kids safe. And that, for me, is masking.
I haven't heard anyone say that masks do not work. Mask is the best protection that we have. In fact, all the news that I have watched has been that instead of wearing just an ordinary mask that we've been wearing, that we should all go to the N95s, because this virus is not going to go away. It's going to keep mutating and mutating, because there are hundreds of different coronaviruses, 7 which affect humans. So I don't know what it's going to take for people to understand we need to wear a mask, and especially the children that have not been vaccinated in lower grades. I guess it'll take the death of a child or two before we understand that. But I'm totally against not wearing masks. If I had my way, it would be we wear masks K through 12. And I know that does not make me popular. Decisions have consequences, and my consequences are for all the children and not just for 1 or 2 who doesn't like to wear masks. I don't like to wear them either, but I do.
Again, my feelings on the mask, and you're right, Polly, that the latest reports say that the cloth masks are not going to provide protection, only the N95s. So do we provide N95s?
But they provide some protection. They provide protection. They're not perfect, but then nothing is perfect. This virus is not going to go away unless we wear masks, social distance, and get vaccinated. It's a simple fact. Someone put on Facebook today. Thank God there was no internet during the time that we were getting vaccinations for smallpox and polio, or it would still be here. So, I mean, there are consequences to our decision, and consequences are going to affect our children. If they have COVID, it may be a light case, but it's probably going to affect their heart, their blood vessels, or something else down the road. We don't know. This thing keeps changing. This thing keeps mutating, and the next one will be even more vicious and more difficult to deal with if we don't stop this. I mean, they can't even fly. The airplanes are not even flying. 14,000 flights in the last week have been grounded. Cruise ships are stopped. School systems away from here are going back to virtual. North Carolina's red. Ashe County's red. Our percentage is higher than when we went back to school 2 days a week. We went back to school 2 days a week when this first started, when we were under 5%. What's the percentage for Ashe County now? Anybody know?
It's almost 16% as of the holiday. It was 25% before then, before then. And in a conversation with our nurses in the health department, they do anticipate that going up because a lot of families were at home or occupied over the holidays. And of course, our health department was also enjoying their holiday with their families as well. So they weren't open for a period of time. But that's it's speculation. We don't know.
But I think what will happen is it'll go up because so many families went out of the county and went to visit family in other states, and people from other states came into Ashe County. North Carolina's red, solid red. Only 4 or 5 states are redder than we are, Florida being one of them. And they're so red, they're almost black with the color. So I don't know. I mean, decisions have consequences, and consequences are going to affect all of our students, just not the ones who don't like to wear masks.
Well, my hope is that everyone makes the choice to wear an N95 mask, because I do not think that anything other than that is protecting them, because the virus spreads through airborne transmission. That's my stand, and I turn that over to parents to provide the N95 for their child's protection.
I think that masks work. Dr. Fauci has not said, and the CDC has not said, throw away the masks that you buy.
But there are doctors, reputable doctors, who they are coming to the conclusion that the cloth masks do not work.
I haven't seen that anywhere, and I've seen a lot of news and done a lot of research. I have not seen that.
Face the Nation yesterday morning, Dr. Gottlieb presented the information.
I haven't seen it.
Well, I still think it should be parents' choice on this. Being a parent of 2 children in the system right now, I will make, if we vote optional, that we make that decision for our children. I talked to a guy the other day that paints cars, and they wear the big mask with the big canisters on them. And he said when he gets through and blows his nose, that it's the color of the car that he painted. And paint droplets are larger than these droplets coming from this coronavirus, from what I understand. So, I mean, it's not that I'm against masks. I'm just for, I think the parents should make this decision for them. It's causing a lot of problems mentally. I think that we'll have problems later on due to some of this, because of some of this isolations with the kids having to wear the mask. I know my kids over winter break, one of them that has some breathing difficulties has not had to use his inhaler since he's been home. But prior to that, had to use his inhaler at the school all the time. And I believe it's due to the mask. The other one was having some hard times in the morning, and I think really was dreading having to put the mask on to go back to school. But in the end, I think it's my wife and I's decision to make that decision for our kids. And it's up to the parents that if the kid goes to school and doesn't wear their mask and they want them to wear the mask. When I was a little in school and I didn't do what mom and dad said and they found out about it, later on there were consequences for that. And I don't think our teachers are take care of our kids 110% the best they can, but they're not their parent. And so that's why I think this is the parent's role to make that decision and enforce that decision if that's what they decide. So that's why I'm still for optional for parents' choice.
I don't know how to say this diplomatically, so I probably will say it in a way that people will misunderstand, and that's okay. I understand people that don't want their children to wear masks, fine. But that child that doesn't wear the mask may be asymptomatic. He may carry it to school and give it to the child that's sitting next to him who takes it home to his grandparents or parents. We had another death in the county last week, I understand. There was 8 people in the hospital. I think some churches were closed down. I'm not sure about that. But the thing about it is, it's not just the decision that a few children don't wear masks and the rest wear masks, but because it can be passed around, and I understand that, but they get mask break. I mean, they don't wear a mask. I would hope they would when they go outside to play. They don't have masks on when they have lunch. And I was told they don't have masks on when they have their breaks to eat. So they are mask free part of the day. But my decision is for mask, and I'm going to be outvoted. So my conscience will be clear because my decision, all decisions have consequences. You have to be able to live with the consequences of your decisions. I have to live with the consequences of my decision. So, my grandchildren wear a mask. They've been wearing masks for 2 years. They do not complain. It's automatic. The children I saw at Blue Ridge were not complaining. They were sitting there at their little desk, just with their little mask on, just working away. Nobody was complaining. My granddaughters and daughter who teach in Wake County, Durham County, have worn masks from day one. But they've been wearing them for 2 years. So I don't know. It's just a matter of if you want to do it or you don't want to do it. But I agree with Diane. I think that will have consequences. So we can vote on it and be the end of the discussion.
Does anybody have anything else? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote as we've done in the past month. It'll be a roll call vote, single vote on that. So I'll start. Ms. Jones?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I'm going to vote. I don't know how the motion went in the fact that I'll vote correctly.
The motion.
So much. So let's repeat the motion.
Yeah, the motion that was made that the Ashe County schools kindergarten through 12th grade will be all optional.
No.
Okay, Ms. Jones votes no. Mr. McClure?
Yes.
Dr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Eldredge?
No.
Mr. Roten votes yes. So motion carries 3-2. Next, we've got on their agenda going down through updates, discussions. I know we might have had some changes on this one, Dr. Cox, but the first one under there is Ashe County High School highlights.
Mr. Chairman, could we take about a 2-minute break, please?
We can. Yeah, we can, if that's okay with everybody. We'll take you're muted, Dr. Cox.
I do want to state that still it's federally required that all students on school buses must wear a mask the entire time. So please make sure that your child has a mask to get on the school bus, and we'll have to wear it appropriately off the school bus, or until they get off the school bus as well. So that's not something that we can change.
Okay. All right. Well, if it's okay, we'll call just a brief recess and let's reconvene about 8:10 if that's okay. I've got little 8:06 right now. So we'll pause and reconvene at 8:10.
Thank you.
I don't know. Amy, mute me.
She's not much older than I, for sure.
I think we've got everybody back. I see everybody. Mr. McClure, are you still with us?
I am still here.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to check in. we've just got a few more items left on the agenda. So we're into updates, discussion, and presentations. And first item that we had under that item was the Ashe County High School highlights. And I know we might have some changes there, Dr. Cox.
So yes, unfortunately, due to the severe weather, and we still have people without power, and unfortunately, Miss Hip is one of them. And because she would have needed to be in the building, and she had a little bit of a drive back, and I wanted to make sure she got home safely, like everybody else. So we're going to postpone the high school presentation until next month. However, I do encourage everyone, I know you all have had a chance to look at it, but I do encourage our families to take a look at the high school offerings. Included in this information are the actual graduation requirements, and some of those are different depending on what year in school you are, because those do change by the state. But it also includes the programming that we have at our high schools. So it includes our honors classes and our advanced placement classes, our clubs and organizations, the athletic teams that we field each year. And for a small high school, we do offer a lot to our students. And again, I hope that our families take a look at that information, but Amanda will be presenting that next month.
Okay. Well, very good. Yeah, if you get a chance to look at it between now and February, that is a good presentation and lots of good pictures on there. So next we've got on here the Ashe County High School athletic vision, priorities, next steps.
So Brian Hampton, I believe, is getting on. Amy, I don't know whether you see him on there to promote Brian Hampton.
He is. He's coming in right now.
Okay. So a few months ago, I met with Brian and a team from the middle school and the high school, including our both principals as well as Mitchell at the middle school, so that we could talk about athletics in general. Brian, of course, is starting his first year as the athletic director for the district. And it's a huge change in responsibility, especially moving conferences. And we're back full force in athletics. But we really wanted to take a look at our programming K-12 and what athletics looks like throughout our district. And from that meeting, we talked about everything about our investment in athletics. Over the last couple of years, it's been interesting not having full sports, having COVID, not having, even last year we had some times where we had to limit the number of spectators that we had. So things have changed a lot over the last couple of years, but one thing that we did know is that we needed a unified vision moving forward so that we knew what we were working toward. And since this past year, we did our strategic plan. I think it's important to include athletics and their vision for what that looks like in an extracurricular, from an extracurricular perspective. So Brian's leadership is going to help us through that process, and he can share a little bit more moving forward. And then, of course, you guys all know we are very thankful that we had a large donation from West Cornwall that will allow us to start thinking about some facilities and other things that our athletics needs moving forward. And anyway, here's Brian. He can tell you all the other stuff.
Good evening, board. You've probably seen the vision that I sent to Dr. Cox, and basically my vision is to give our student athletes everything that they need to be competitive, and use all our resources to hire the best coaches, have the best facilities, and provide the best equipment possible. And with Mr. Cornwell's donation, I think it will enable us to build some locker room space for our softball and baseball program, along with giving them an indoor practice facility and a concession area, and giving those two sports a place to really call home. And I think that's one of our biggest facility needs. Our sports teams need a place that they can call their own. Football has the field house, basketball, wrestling have the locker rooms there in the gymnasium. Really baseball, softball, soccer, tennis, some of our other sports really don't have a place that they can call home. So hopefully with this generous gift from Mr. Cornwell, and Mr. Cornwell and I have been in discussion quite regularly about our ideas for what we would like to see done there. And then with the committee that we have assembled, and still got to talk to a few of these folks, make sure they're good to go, but I'm confident they will be, that we can start the planning for that facility and then start planning for how we will raise the rest of the funds necessary.
I think it's a part of this process, because obviously all of this would come to the board for approval. We'd like to have at least one board member on the committee to help us be thoughtful in that funding and really think about the partnerships that we need to have within our community. And I think that's going to be really important, are those partnerships, especially when we're thinking about a K-12 vision. So, I know that my own children in a different district had the opportunity to do Let Me Run in elementary schools. We don't have that program here. And consequently, in a 4A division, my oldest child's high school always was highly competitive in cross country. That was a commitment that they made K-12. We've got to decide, what our priorities are, and then how can we look at player development? How can we train our coaches and really invest in our coaches so that they are supported to do that work? What resources do we need to put into our student athletes? What do they need to be competitive, not just, in K-12, but even beyond? And, we want to really take a look at that as a district. And, we're a small high school, but we've been highly competitive, and even proving that we're competitive in some of the sports, moving to a newer, larger conference. So anyway, I think it's really important, and we'd like to have at least one of you, obviously we can't have more than two, but at least one of you on the committee as a permanent person in that conversation.
If it's okay with the board, Dr. Simmons, would you like to serve on that? I'd like to nominate you as a member of that. I know you're very active and go to a lot of the events, the football games and volleyball games, et cetera, like that. And I know we all make what we can, but I know you've been active in that. And I didn't know if you would want to serve in that capacity.
I would be honored to serve in that capacity. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So any questions for Mr. Hampton or Dr. Cox about this good vision? I think this will be a good thing to look at everything on there, and it looks like a very good group, a very good mix of folks from parents to community.
I did have one question about, I didn't see a coach on this, in this committee, but am I overlooking something, or there's some dual roles here, but I didn't recognize a coach's voice here.
There's really not just a coach. There are two, with the two assistant athletic directors. Nathan Colbert is coaching golf and has been the basketball coach, and Adam Elliott, the other assistant athletic director, has been a wrestling coach and of course is our athletic trainer. If you'd like, we can go back and find another individual that is a coach currently on staff to be a member.
That's up to you, Mr. Hampton. I just wanted to point it out in case it had been an oversight or a role that I didn't recognize, a dual role.
Diane, I can't hear you.
I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We have a number of community coaches. It might be advantageous to get that perspective of what it's like to come into a school from outside and have that input as well. Of course, to get there again, I'm just suggesting it's up to the committee itself. But having been a community coach and still involved in the community athletics, I think that would be a good voice to hear, is someone who's actually coaching in the community or involved in an athletic event that's not actually in the school, so that we can coordinate more efforts. I know that when Mike and I have done all these teams and work with the soccer league, our goal is for them to be able to play further on. And we try to provide those fundamentals for that. And of course, we have volunteer coaches, which makes it a little more difficult sometimes to get those fundamentals in, but that's our goal, is for the kids to have fun, number one, so they will want to play again. But them moving on, it just excites us to death when we have a former player that goes on and above. And so that might be a good viewpoint to have as well. Because I just don't think that we're going to be able to fund all of the athletic things that we want to happen. So we're going to have that volunteer community people to be able to make this happen, like we'd like to see it happen for our younger students in particular.
Diane, I'd also like to say that I know Brian and some of the coaches have looked at some of the priorities, and they understand that there are some choices that'll have to be made. But once the committee takes a look at what those priorities are, I think you're right as far as the community involvement. We rely on our community for a lot of things, and we know how much our community turns out for our athletic programs, and we appreciate them very much. And we want to work together to make that happen because it's important.
Yes, and the parents and the community really support these young efforts for the younger students as well. I know we had over 300 kids sign up this fall for just soccer. So, that's a big community involvement, a big community resource. And we definitely want to keep encouraging those kinds of things so that it will lead to a better program at the middle school and at the high school that we may not be able to fund individually as a school system, and work closely with Parks and Rec. They'll be able to do a whole lot to help us to get to that point as well, but we all need to be on the same page. So I'm really excited that we have this opportunity to have something that is a plan, that we know where we're going and what our goals are going to be, and to pull in what we need to do to get there. So
I want to remind you. Yeah, I want to remind you all that you voted to set aside $50,000 out of our capital for this year, just for this. So you all have already shown that commitment. And then we had the $200,000 or something close to that. I don't know the exact amount that was gifted to us by West Cornwell. And so, we're doing what we can to make a step in that direction. And I wanted to remind everybody who's still listening and thank you all for choosing to invest in our athletics as well. And that's that's for capital toward this building project. But that's on top of the other investments that we make into the athletic program.
I'd like to say I appreciate Coach Hampton because I know how much he cares about our student athletes and our students in general. And I think he will provide the right leadership we need and keep those interests of the students and keep them foremost during all of these decisions, that it will be student driven. And I appreciate that, Coach.
I appreciate you guys and all your support. The two assistant ADs with Nathan and Adam, they have been a huge help. And they're getting going more and more in their roles, and that's going to enable me to do a lot more things in the community, raising money, making those connections, and being seen and making those relationships with our community partners is going to be huge. One thing that obviously we depend a lot on our community for their support, but one thing that we can do with the changing our facilities and upgrading things is we could be able to support our community by bringing more things in to our facilities to provide more revenue for some folks in our community. So it's not just an athletic mindset, it's a whole community mindset. We're all in it together, and we ask a lot of folks to help all the time. So with all our ideas, hopefully we can get to where we're giving back to our community as well.
Great. That's great. Thank you, Mr. Hampton, for that. Any other questions for him? We'll continue down. We've got next Early Learning Center consideration for natural gas.
So Jerry is getting on this one. Is that Jerry who just popped up? Maybe. No.
It was odd. I said natural gas and my heat came on in my house.
He's coming in. It's just
There he
lagging
is.
a little bit.
All right, it's good.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Miss Williams with the Learning Through Play approached me with interest of purchasing and installing tankless hot water heaters to support a gang restroom that's located off the gymnasium at the Early Learning Center site. In turn, I'm requesting right-of-way authorization for Frontier Natural Gas to determine if plumbing and 2 new hot water heaters, tankless hot water heaters, would be an option, and if so, complete the installation. Just as a note, currently on site, we have natural gas supplying their mechanical room there. This would just be an extension to that.
So basically the restrooms off of the old gym of the old West Jefferson School.
That's correct.
The big,
at least one of those restrooms off of that.
okay.
So, Learning Through Play is just asking for a right of way to be able to install the natural gas, or what are they asking us for specifically?
So Learning Through Play is exploring to see if this would be an option. In turn with that, Frontier Natural Gas needed authorization for right of way for them to come and see if, one, it was an option, and two, if it was an option and they proceeded to go that way, then you're approving for us, for our school system, to have that right of way access into the building. So it's an extension for the mechanical room up. If you're familiar with the campus, you know where the mechanical room is. And then in turn, it'd be up through the concrete grass, small grass area into the gymnasium there.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consideration for right of way. We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion, we approve the right of way for natural gas company to explore that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McClure. Do I have a second to the motion? I see Ms. Jones there, seconded the motion. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Baker or Dr. Cox?
After this is done, what does it look like our responsibility will be if they decide this is feasible? Will we have any other responsibilities here or commitments?
This would be their purchase. We would oversee the installation, make sure everything is up there, what we would want done for the facility, but this would be their purchase. It would be their addition.
Just wanted that clarified. That's what my understanding was, but I just wanted that clarified.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And let me, hypothetical kind of question. So say they decide to go through with it, everything, and say something happened that they retired or closed, which I hope they don't. We need child care centers in Ashe County, so we need more than what we have. But what would that water heater stay on the property? Would it become just property of the school itself then at that point? That wouldn't be something they would take with them.
It would be ours.
Okay. Okay.
And Josh, we can go back and review the MOU, but Typically, things like that stay with the facility, but we can certainly talk about that if they say they want to move forward with it. We can bring that back to you with some clarifications from Fred. And like I said, we can make sure that, if necessary, that's identified or outlined in that MOU.
Any other questions? Hearing none, so we have a motion and a second on there. All in favor, if you will, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Next, we've got on the agenda is our middle school update.
So as you all know, tomorrow we are interviewing architects. We have 6 architectural firms who have expressed interest in being our architect for the new middle school. And while the document on there was not updated after we changed the times today due to inclement weather, all of those, we did send out the notice earlier today that all those times have been pushed back an hour. But the document does include the 6 architectural firms and the primary contact that we have had with those architectural firms for this process. So, we look forward to hearing and seeing what they have to offer. So that is next in our process. I've also included the new grant applications that were included in part of the budget from the state. And this is really exciting, and we intend to apply for that grant funding with your all's permission. We were going to take it to our county commission for them to sign it as well at their next meeting so they can show their approval. Essentially what this grant does, it is a similar grant process to the 2018 grant that our school system applied for that provided $15 million toward the building of the new middle school. The state budget honors that this is not enough and that school systems are needing more than that. And so the new budget provides an opportunity of up to $40 million. We have a grant match of 5%, which is minimal compared to the total amount of $40 million. This is not in addition to the 15, but it's an increase to the 15. So what Amanda and Jerry and I intend to do is to, with your permission, to apply for that grant funding of up to $40 million and submit that to the state. It's due mid-March, but I'd like to get it in as soon as we have all of the information to go into the grant. I'm excited about the possibility of saving our community a lot of money, $25 million. There's a lot we can do with $25 million.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you need a motion to approve the grant process to start.
Well, in order to apply for grants, I believe it's in our policies that we need the board's approval. We do have some time on this, but I would love to have the approval so we can get started and just do it whenever it happens.
Okay.
And then I'll need your signature as the chairman of the board, Josh, when it's finished, as well as the signature of our county commission chair.
Okay.
I think Diane was trying to make a comment, but we didn't hear.
Go ahead, Diane.
Well, I was just doing some calculations. So if I'm doing the calculations right, that would be a matching grant of $200,000, right? I mean, what we would have to match that 5%. Is that correct?
5, yeah. Yeah, it's of the total 40 million. Yes.
The total, if we were to receive this grant, where would this money come from?
So we would have to, and Amanda, jump in and scold me if I say anything wrong. This is going to be local funds.
I think it's 2 million, isn't it? 5% of 40.
It's 2 million.
2 million, yeah. I moved my thing too far. $2 million. So it would have to be local funds.
Well, the other grant had the matching component to it. And it was, I mean, it was, the county was supporting it. It wasn't coming from our.
Yeah, we don't have $2 million laying around.
Yeah.
No, and,
Well, that would be a great investment. 2
It
million.
would be,
to 40.
absolutely, to get 40.
Absolutely.
Yes,
So-
no question.
I just wanted to make sure I understood the 5%. And so that's an awesome opportunity. And, man, keeping my fingers crossed and probably will cross my toes that we can get that. That would be an answer to solve a huge problem, I think, for Ashe County and Ashe
I
County
agree.
schools.
But this is not like the other one. The other one was kind of lottery money. From what I understand, the 15 million. Is that correct? That this
The other
is
one,
not-
the other was lottery
this
money.
one's not. So this one's not really lottery money.
So this is under the Public School Capital Fund. And so they are already set aside in this year's budget, the funds. And we actually have at least one of the architectural firms that will be talking with us tomorrow has already done this process and helped to guide the state on this process too. So maybe something that we want to ask them about.
Okay.
That you all are willing to apply for this grant. I think it would be awesome if we could get that grant. That would solve a lot of problems with the middle school, the construction there. So.
And if you guys want to read all the details about the matching funds, it's on page 2. And it's actually, once you download, you can't pull it up from the web, but once you download it, there are additional guidance on the capital planning for the funding of that match. So we'll have, we have a ways to go before we get to that point. But I believe it's doable.
What do you think our chances of getting it since we had the other grant? Is it greater or about the same, or do they take it completely new, or how do they do that?
It is, however, one of the priorities for receiving the grant is that you are a current recipient of that 15 million and have not tapped into the 15 million yet. And since we have not accessed that 15 million, that is the very first of the priorities. So there are a list of priorities, and that is one of them that we meet.
It's like we've got a good shot at it then.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well,
Good
this
deal.
is exciting, Dr. Cox, and I'm pleased at how quickly we're moving ahead with this process, with the application and with the architect interviews. Now, we've been on hold for so long, the public and the board is ready to move forward. So I'm excited about it. And I say that to say that I make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we allow for the application of for this grant for the middle school.
Okay. So I have a motion from Mr. McClure. Do I have a second to his motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, if you will, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right. I'm kind of like Diane on that one. I think I'll raise my hand and say aye if it helps.
Well, we thank you for your support. This could be really huge.
Very much so. So next we've got announcements. Any announcements to be made?
No, other than I really hope this snow and ice and cold weather goes away sooner than later, so we can ensure our kids get back to school on Wednesday. But our teachers do have another required work day. So for any teacher who is still listening, at 8:41, I'll be sending out an email today that shares that we will be doing the things the same tomorrow as we were today, working under the same protocol. But that message will go out here in a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well, next on my agenda is motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody being on and putting this together.